As you know, some of the most common questions or some of the most common topics in mainstream media here in the US and in social media would be gender equality, racism, cultural appropriation, AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander rights, representation and stuff like that. And of course, I support all of that. I support gender equality. I love all genders. I do everything I can to support all of those causes. Uh, so I often get interview requests that would talk about topics like that. And quite honestly, I've been very picky, primarily because I really don't like highlighting my gender or my race, primarily because I don't believe it had anything to do with how I was able to get to where I am. When I do my job, when I go to meetings, when I propose things, when I plan things, when I go into discussions, I don't really go into it thinking, okay, how do I do it as a woman or how do I do it as an Asian? I am focused on the end result. I am focused on the strategies, on the basics of marketing. I'm focused on measuring results. I'm focused on coming up with new ideas. My end goal is to make the current company that I work for more profitable, more successful, and more efficient. It has nothing to do with my gender and my race. So when in this particular interview last week, the reporter asked me how I make sure that despite my gender and my race, I am able to assert myself, I'm able to do my job, and I am recognized for the work that I do. And so that's how I answered it. I said, well, that's precisely what I do. I don't really think about my race and my gender. I'm focused on the result. I do my job. I'm focused on the basics and the foundations of marketing. I don't go in there thinking exactly what I said. I don't go in there thinking about, how do I do this as a woman or as an Asian? And and I told him that that is the secret, I guess, and that's how we were raised, even in my family. Growing up, my father never told me you can't do that as a woman or you should do this as a woman. Whenever we want to learn anything, we want to learn biking, we want to learn how to run those motorcycles, we want to do this, do that. We were never told you can't do that because you're a woman. We're just, okay, go ahead and do it. Anything that your male cousins do, you can do as well. And it was never even phrased that way. We were just allowed to do it, allowed to do things. I was taught how to do mechanical work and electrical work. So there was never that notion of being limited because I'm a woman. It was always about me wanting to do things and just doing it. But I guess this reporter actually had a narrative in mind, and he wanted me to say something that that supported that narrative. So he asked it again. Yeah, but as a woman, it's hard, and as an Asian, blah blah blah. And if you actually dig deeper into what he was saying, it could actually be taken as an insult because you're already positioning my gender and my race as a disadvantage, when in fact it is not. If at all, it is an advantage because I have a more diverse experience in terms of culture, in terms of entertainment. Then I have more learnings, I have more insights. There are a lot of things that are happening in that side of the world that I get to experience and I get to see, and I can actually bring it here. But it has nothing to do with my race and all about the experiences that I've gone through and the things that the developments there and the art culture that we nurtured there and stuff like that. So he was pushing and pushing, and I realized that I was faced with a choice. I was either going to give him the soundbite that he wanted that will support his narrative, or the story wasn't going to be printed at all, and my 1 hour would have been wasted, and worse, he would probably never ever come to me again for an interview. So I was either going to give him what he wanted and get the media mention, or compromise what I really believed in and just charge it to experience. So it was just an interesting time. It was just, okay, I told myself I wasn't going to compromise myself, or at least minimize the compromises that I was going to make. So I was faced with that choice right at that moment. So, but it also made me realize that there is this other side into getting fixated over race and over gender. That the minute that we start looking at things, looking at achievements, and looking at people based on their race and their gender, we're already it's already a disservice to what we actually want, and that is to have equality, to be looked at as human beings, not as a woman or a man or a trans or whatever the gender is, and not based on race. So we have, unless we actually move past beyond it and we actually elevate ourselves from it, will we actually progress. So it was just and also it was an eye opener for me that there's just these people that will not stop until they get whatever it is that they need to support their narrative. I think it was pretty clear in my answer to him that the secret to becoming a successful woman is to not actually look at your gender and make it front and center of whatever it is that you do. That your primary concern should be your job, and that in my case, the objective is to become the best marketer I can be, and not as the best Asian or best woman I can be. But he was just not having it. He kept on pushing and pushing and pushing until I was in that corner, until he put my back on the wall. So yeah, I hope that that we get past it, really. I was raised by a family, I was raised by a clan that never really highlighted our gender, never really highlighted the color of our skin. It was all about being able to do what we wanted, getting the best experiences that they could afford for us, getting the best education, answering questions, nurturing the curiosity in our heads, engaging us in difficult conversation, even if it meant forcing us to face things that were difficult for us, if it meant progress. And I hope that we also get to that stage, that that we are all open to everything, that we stop getting scared of being offended or getting hurt. It's all part of the process of progress. If we want, there's never been a difficult question that didn't involve options that were difficult to face, that weren't difficult to, sorry, there have never been difficult questions that did not involve difficult options and difficult answers. And so unless we're willing to face those pain and willing to face getting hurt and unless we're willing to actually make the sacrifices, then we're not going to progress. Just wanted to share that. And this is a very is it melancholic melancholic closing a melancholic Friday, but I guess I just said it because I just want us all really to go above it, go beyond it. It's strange because when I was back in the Philippines, I was never judged for my gender. And now that I am supposed to be in supposedly a more progressive country, that's when I'm being forced to actually sort of put myself in a box, Yeah. That's it, and happy Friday to everybody.